So the title of this video is why leaky gut cures, why most leaky gut cures won't work. And it's maybe not what you think. I'm not against treating leaky gut. I don't think that it's useless to treat it, but more so I want to talk a little bit about why these treatments fail. If they do, sometimes they don't. But mainly the purpose of this video is to look at some of the processes that people are going through that I see in my practice to actually cure these things. They're not thinking through some of the things that they should be, and they're wasting their money and their time on supplements and things that maybe aren't done in the right sequence. So mainly this is about, this video will give you a little bit more info on how you should be thinking about sequencing your treatments, because that is a very important part of getting to that ultimate cure, or that last 25% or last 50% of what's underlying your health issues. My name is Dr. Taranella, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching. Okay, so before we get into talking about why most leaky gut cures are not going to work, I wanted to give you a little bit of information or explain, my perspective on what leaky gut actually is. So briefly, many of you may have, already understand this a little bit, but I'll briefly give you kind of my understanding and how I think about it. So it's a process that that's occurring in your body that's allowing foreign proteins to get inside your digestive system, and this triggers the body's immune response to kick in, which is going to cause systemic symptoms, which are too numerous to mention here, but things like autoimmune conditions, skin reactions like eczema or hives, autoimmune like joint or even lung, kidney, any kind of autoimmune reaction. So that's kind of a brief understanding of what leaky gut can do symptomatically. But this is occurring from inflammation in the digestive tract. Usually it's from chronic inflammation. So yes, maybe you'll get a little bit of this from an acute type of inflammatory process, but usually it's from chronic inflammation. The chronic insults are over and over, the body isn't able to keep up with fixing these proteins that keep the digestive cells linked together. So the way that I think about it is, your the lumen of your digestive tract has all these finger-like projections coming into it, and that's what allows you to absorb food and absorb nutrients. And those finger-like projections are cinched together by proteins that allow them to, this is not working, here we go, that allow them to open and close like this. And the damage basically damages those proteins. The body isn't able to keep up with that damage. So that's kind of leaky gut in a nutshell. And the main reason why I say that most people's leaky gut cures are not actually going to work is because they haven't put the work in to figure out why they have it to begin with. Now, you may have gone on a really strict diet and that was hard and all that, but it may not be enough. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what you can do to look at that in a little more detail. Okay, yeah, so granted, many of you have put in the work to find out exactly why you have leaky gut. Maybe you did some testing with your doctor, or followed specific things. So this isn't to say that there's no such thing as leaky gut or it can't be cured. It's more so to say if you're not getting the results that you want, we need to look a little bit closer at some other things. Mainly, I see in my practice that people come in saying they're taking X, Y, and Z for their leaky gut, which is fine. But then they go on to say, well, I never really looked at why I have it to begin with. I'm not sure if I'm sensitive to these foods. I'm not sure if I have bugs in my digestive tract. No one told me that I was supposed to look for that stuff. So you don't just take supplements for leaky gut without finding out why. I even see some people will just go on a diet and say, well, I followed this diet, did the leaky gut, and I'm still having problems. That's probably because you didn't. Now you're no longer on the diet, or maybe you are and still having issues because you haven't done the other steps. So what are the other steps? Well, just one quick analogy too is that I think that this is kind of putting the cart before the horse, or another analogy that I like to use is sort of like dumping water and gasoline on a fire and expecting the fire to go out. So you're not removing the obstacle to these proteins being damaged all the time, and so your body can't really catch up if you don't remove that obstacle. So that's the gasoline. That you're using some water with the supplements, but not getting all the way there, or supplements plus the diet. But if there's still bugs there or other problems, then you're not going to get the full benefit. So the other things that often are overlooked. So a lot of times people do change their diet, but they don't know if they're really sensitive to the foods. And so you want to look at that, but probably even before that, you want to look and make sure you don't have any bugs in the wrong place, like in the small intestine, bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, other pathogens, other parasites, things like this. So there's various tests you can do to find this out. There's blood tests, there's breath tests, there's stool tests. So if you go on a really strict diet to begin with, you may get false negative results from these types of testing. So not to say don't do it at all, but you should at least go back and look at some of these tests if you're not getting the results you want. The other one is histamine intolerance. So sometimes you're not breaking down your histamines effectively, and histamine directly causes those cells to open like that, and can be a trigger in and of itself without having any microbial issues, though that will make it worse. And sometimes, histamine intolerance and having microbial problems is in and of itself something that will trigger your food sensitivities. And by removing or taking care of those, you're not as sensitive. Sometimes you get a lot of movement with that, so pretty much your sensitivities go away. Sometimes it's just less sensitive, less often. But it's important, I think, for the longevity of the effectiveness of your treatment is to rule those two things out first. So that's what I typically do. So there's various ways to test for those things. Blood tests, stool tests. So usually you have to go through a doctor to find those. I understand that sometimes that's harder, you can't afford it. Sometimes you can find these tests online, but it's not always possible to get them done effectively online. Then you have to interpret them. So sometimes you do have to spend a little extra money and see a doctor that specializes in these types of things. But if you're not getting the results that you expect, you need to go back and look at some of these things. The other thing I wanted to mention is, so there's a lot of supplements floating around with these protocols that may or may not work. And in the case that they're not working, if you haven't figured out why you're having these problems to begin with, they're probably not working. Sometimes you don't even need supplements. Remove the cause, and the body, is an amazing instrument that can cure itself when you remove that obstacle. It's called an obstacle to cure. So the obstacle to cure for your leaky gut is, whatever inflammation is going on there. So sometimes it is diet, strict food sensitivities, food allergies. But when it's not, go back and look at these other things. So, and it's not to say that the supplements are bad to take. They really won't hurt you. Maybe just wasting time, wasting your money on those if you're not actually finding out what the actual cause is to begin with. So once again, thank you for watching. I hope this video was useful in helping you think about and understand treating your leaky gut and figuring out what you should be doing and better understand what's going on in your body. If it was, please click on the like button. This helps me to better understand, what people are interested in, and I can make more content around that. So if you do like this type of content, I will be posting more videos soon. I tend to post things that are common to my practice and things that I see in our practice. Get these types of questions that people ask a lot, call in and ask questions, or they come in, specifically with these questions. So if you like this type of content, subscribe to the channel. Click on that subscribe button, and we'll see you next time.